Welcome to the Joy of Connecting, where modern professionals share stories of meaningful connection and how it can increase business success, unlock career growth, and create personal happiness. If you like what you hear today, get even more by following the Joy of Connecting on LinkedIn and subscribing to our newsletter that features tips from experts on how to network and connect with more meaning. Welcome back to the Joy of Connecting. I am your host, Melissa Moody, and I am here today with Taina Palombo-Price. She is an expert product marketing leader who has cut her chops at some of those big FANG companies like Meta and LinkedIn. You might have heard of those. But she's here today specifically because she and I connected on stage in front of a large audience. So I know her as someone who thinks deeply about connection and how to build your networks. She's got a lot of other expertise, but welcome to the show today, Taina. Thanks for coming.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you tell us a bit about, I always like to say, what do you do for a living? But more importantly, who are you passionate about helping?
Great question. Maybe I'll answer it in two ways. At work, I'm passionate about helping customers find their voice inside of the work that builders of solutions drive to make and to put out into the market. And I think maybe simultaneously in life, I'm somebody who strives to help underrepresented people find their voices as well.
Powerful to be able to take a similar thread, but put it in two spots. I love that you did that. Now, we're here today because we talk about connection. We talk about how building relationships, building meaningful networks can really lead to amazing things in business, in career, in our personal sanity and satisfaction. Can you tell us a story that you have about connection that you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm going to go personal to start because I am an Austin transplant from New York City. So I'm a Yankee, but I've been living in Texas for almost 13 years. And I've started to say y'all, and I'm raising a native Texan, so I feel like I can do that. But I had a son when I'd been living in Austin for a few years, my first and only. And for anyone who's been a new mom or even a new parent, and you start to engage in the daycare scene, it is terrifying. It's terrifying because you've never done it before. You don't know who the other parents are. You don't have the lay of the land. And I had somebody pull me out of a line at pickup to tell me that she loved my outfit and she wanted to know where my sunglasses were from, and they were fabulous. And she is my best friend to this day. And her son and my son are going on 10 years old, and they've been best friends since they were in daycare together. So to my friend Yesenia, building community to me meant for grabbing me out of a bunch of moms and saying, "Hey, I like you. I want to be friends." And that actually was a catalyst for me feeling like Texas is home. She welcomed me and my husband into her life. We spend every summer in Galveston at a lake house together. And, she taught me about all the types of beans and tacos and really important cuisine of this part of the world. And I didn't expect it and I wasn't looking for it. And it was really wonderful.
I think a lot on this show so far, we've talked about connection that we have to make with others when we come into a new environment, whether that is, a new place in the country or a new stage of life or a new career. But I love flipping it on its head and thinking about what she did for you, which is that basically reaching out with a compliment, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was essentially just saying, "Hey, I like something about what you're doing." And just boom, that little tiny little bridge was created.
Yeah. And I think like something that I learned from being her friend over the years is I saw a quote recently that was like, never say the compliment or never say the compliment in your head. She is a ambassador of that. And it's really just like one technique in breaking the ice when you see someone that you think could be interesting to be friends with, or, she saw our kids playing together and associated me with that kid. And she didn't wait or hesitate or, wait for a mixer. She just grabbed me at pickup and said something nice. And, within a week we were on a play date and like the rest is history. But it's something that I probably would never have done before I watched it work in that situation, and it's fundamentally changed my life.
And it translates so well. I think when, so audience, Taina and I were on a panel about building your network, and we talked about some of the strategies. And I think one that we spoke about was that strategy of, we were framing it more as gratitude, like thanking people for something they've done. But I think it falls into this element of gratitude, complimenting, celebrating someone, just that pure setting someone up on a stage and saying, wow, and using that as a point to jump off of. Yeah. Any thoughts, any further thoughts on that before I have my next question for you?
No, I don't think so, but I think it's a little bit of just like saying the quiet part out loud, which I'm very into as I move into my 40s, both the good stuff and the bad stuff. But we don't have endless time. And
Yeah,
so if you like something about somebody, let them know.
that's beautifully said. Well, that's a bit of advice in itself, but what is one piece of advice you might give to someone who is trying to build their network? Maybe in the personal scene, maybe in the work scene. What's one piece of advice that you've seen work really well?
Yeah, I'll go professional on this one, but I think being yourself and being authentic and making connections with people that are not only based on what you're doing in your life at that moment in time. And that might be just like talking about where you're from. Sometimes you meet people. I meet people from the city, from New York all the time in Texas. And we get straight into like what neighborhood and what's your favorite deli. And like that is something that I won't forget in 6 months or a year. If I see them again, I'll remember that they're from the Upper West Side. But there is something about those personal connections that allow you to come back to something that isn't fixed in time
Mm,
because you were at Morgan Stanley and they were at whatever, like whatever the case is. Try to find something that is outside of like the fixed moment. And the reason that I say that is because, particularly early in your career and late, you don't know where people are going to end up. And there might be beautiful roads that bring you back to somebody who you met very early on and was doing something totally different. I think sometimes having that sort of like organic, natural, authentic connection about something that is intrinsic to you, your life, the things you love, it's much easier to pick up that conversation down the line. If they know something about you, it sort of starts to cut through to the friend lane, and straddling those things I think has really helped me in keeping long-term relationships with people over the years that I can come back to.
that's really poignant. The idea that if you find the connection, something that doesn't change with time, that it will always be, that's really insightful. That's, see, this is why I have her on the show, folks. She's dropping knowledge bombs left and right. I love that. Well, one other thing that you and I've chatted about is when you have these discussions with people, sometimes it's just the way you frame a question, it's the way you open up discussion. Do you have a question that you like to ask that tends to open up a really authentic discussion?
Yeah, I love to talk about food. I won't say that I'm a foodie because I don't have like a pocket guide or like a star rating system, but I am definitely moved by food and trying cuisine. And I love to explore like what people's localization looks like if they're from Atlanta or if they're from wherever. I
Yeah.
I love to talk about like what their favorite places to eat or
Yeah.
share a place. Like Austin has great barbecue, but I probably have controversial thoughts about what the best barbecue in town is. That's a great icebreaker for people you don't know. I have a sneaky second one, which is maybe for people that you're meeting at work one to one for the first time. I believe that emoji are like the hieroglyphics of our generation. And I think which ones you use the most tell a lot about you, how you communicate. Are you passionate? Are you choosing the ones that are most basic? And so I love to start off icebreakers with asking people to share their safe for work, top used row of emojis inside their iPhone.
I love that we had to qualify it. It's like, I just want to know you're safe for work line. Second of all, I don't know if the audience can see this if they're watching on YouTube, but I just threw up two thumbs up, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so like that's so
Yeah.
millennial of me." Um, well, I gotta know what's one of yours. I'm really curious.
So I like to use the tombstone, but more in like a when
Dead.
something kills me, like it's kill
Mhm.
me, it's funny. Less than like dead, stick a fork in it, but more like dead, I'm laughing out loud.
My dead for laughing out loud is like the skull and crossbones. Same idea though. Like, ugh, I'm dead. Yep, that's a good one.
I've also really gravitated to the 100 recently.
Ooh, I do use that a lot. I'm a big fan of custom emojis, especially in like workspace with my team. I find there's something fun to have almost like a shared language of custom emojis among a group of folks. We used to have a team member. She was easily the most Gen Z among us, and she would actually essentially make up associations for different emojis in her own head. And then sometimes we didn't even know why we were using them. But if someone said something funny, we had to put like a plug on it. Like there were really random things.
I
Um,
love that. I have a lifelong obsession with Clippy, who, for many of us who grew up in the early Microsoft Office days, you know where Clippy came from. But my dad was a computer engineer when I was really young. And he was one of the first computer engineers from the place he's from in Argentina. and he wrote software. And he's always, my whole life, no matter where we lived or how much money he had, we always had like the latest computer tech. And I
Mm.
remember him waiting to get his version of Microsoft Windows 98 that had Clippy and Einstein in it. And I found the Clippy inside of the emoji stack inside of Microsoft Teams. I think it's an Easter egg for Microsoft and LinkedIn employees, but I found it and I started using it as like, I read it, I got it. And then eventually I got a Clippy tattoo.
Stop. You guys, she has a Clippy tattoo. That's amazing.
And I love him. It means something like personal to me, but it became quickly like my favorite non-stock emoji inside of Teams.
That's unforgettable. It's fantastic. And to tie back to your first question, the food. Food is always there. When we first chatted, we started going back and forth about tacos in Austin. And I still didn't get to try any of your favorites, but I'm coming back. So it will happen. Well, I'm so grateful for you taking the time to share some of your thoughts on connection. I'd love to make sure that people know where to find you and follow you and learn more from you if they've enjoyed the episode today. Where else can people find you?
Well, presently you can find me volunteering at my son's green garden in Austin, but you can find me at LinkedIn. My name is Taina Palombo-Price. There's a dash between Palombo and Price, and I'd be happy to chat with anybody who's looking to talk about product marketing, looking to talk about intersectionality in the workplace, Latinas in tech. And if you're in Austin, hit me up.
So cool. She's got the tacos, folks. She knows the
I
tacos.
do. It's true.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Have a story of your own to share or know someone who should be on the show? Visit www.joyofconnect.ing and let us know. Now go send a short message to someone you've been meaning to connect with. You never know where it might lead.